Okay, a disingenuous piece of text here. It says, if somebody dies, can his brother somehow get involved? It says, well, at the resurrection, they shall neither marry nor be given in marriage, but be like angels in the sky. Well, angels basically don't appear in the sky, I don't think, unless you're a Luciferian, because there's no reason for them to, unless it was a sign, however synthetic or actually a being, from the Creator to try to speak to people obliquely. You know, very often you hear stories of people, they have involvements with beings, they never say really it's Christ. Like maybe 2 times in 10 they say it's Christ, when you would think that 9 or 10 times in 10 it would be Christ. So obviously, you know, if we put it all together, you can start to get the picture. Not that the truth can be inferred like that. It's the mind of God in his devil form to scramble you against knowing such things if you've not got the position in nature to hold that, or likewise if you don't hold that, because the context comes at you so that you live the perfect law. The context comes at you early, if you like, and in an absurd form, so that your hatred should be towards God rather than men, so that then you will make God Lord, and as far as you realise by that shadow shape that he is the one who's supposed to deal with the scum of the earth. In other words, so that your heart lives, otherwise you start holding back your heart in order to deal with them, because it's not of your heart to have anything. You don't want to dirty your hands with people. And then it can start to deform your relation in nature. So you see, the way we live is actually upside down, it's against the spirit. So, but this obviously is a very poor thing, because what it says is that basically, you know, there will be not really, it implies there'll be no connection between men and women. So what it's basically saying, it's a kind of a message to the psyche saying, the reality of heaven is probably not even remotely concerned with physical contact. So it actually falsifies the reality of the resurrection of the immediate. In other words, the revelation of the metaphysicality of the body through righteousness is turned off by giving it a false split, or false splits, namely through who is Jesus, is he God, all this kind of false question. Is it really physical because it's going to come after the resurrection, and it's going to be in a way that's not related to touch. You know, it's all in a mess. And then he just goes on to appeal to, says, oh, I'm the God of Abraham and God of Isaac and God of Jacob. He said, he's not the God of the dead but of the living. So it's actually still a message saying, basically, there's some kind of transmutation involved in the resurrection, and if it's just the process, it'd be absurd to say. So it's almost like there's a middle world between heaven. The only way to escape it is to say there's a middle world, and it seems to be implied indeed. There's a middle world between heaven and the reality there, where people don't connect with each other. You look at Revelation, it says those who've not defiled themselves with women. It's always oblique. It's never real, do you see? Because if it was real, then it would have to look at the reality of man as man in regards of God's law, and that the game would then be up, and you have 2,000 years of nonsense. So let's, and of course it then comes after that. Once it's killed you with that, it says, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy thought." This is the greatest and first commandment. A second like it is, "Thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself." So in other words, thou shalt be against the sexuality of thy neighbour also. Okay, so then you create energetic controversies in your unconscious, and then the Roman Empire rules you by the contradictions in your energies, lest, the less than perfect form of your love might be blamed by witches or something, you know. It's absolutely nonsense. Right, so let's get to the end of this, because I've only got 2 minutes of recording time, less than that, and I've got to get through a lot of stuff. So it says, let's have a look here. This is a new thing. The coming of the Son of Man will be like the flash of lightning from the east to the west of the sky. Where the carcass is, there the eagles gather. What a silly backwards saying, but it kind of gives you the point. But it's all over the place. By the time you've caught up with this stuff, it's just... Look at this. The kingdom of heaven, 5 foolish maidens, 5 wise. So he kills you so that he can save you. And so you're not a Christian unless you've realised that this is essentially, I don't know, like a sort of golden leaf toilet paper or something. I don't even know what you're supposed to call it. Anyway, so this is the point, right? Okay, so just get this into focus. So the high priest and the elders of the people sent to the palace of the high priest called Caiaphas and resolved to arrest and kill Jesus by a trick. But they said, not at the feast, lest a disturbance arise among the people. Now, John Ignat Powell, who wrote this book, said that We don't know why Judas betrayed him, but unfortunately, it's actually serious. It's obvious. If anything, Judas happened to be there. Maybe he was trying to get information. So he's got sort of like an intelligence man. I'll never get through this in 30 seconds. But anyway, so he's trying to absolve himself. He says, okay, I'll get it, because that's why he's surprised later and wants to give the money back, and then he hangs himself. So Jesus kills him by not basically telling him, because he says, here, I know what's going to go on. So it's basically, the resurrection is forced using Judas as the sacrifice. So in other words, Jesus is a murderer. So that should tell you everything. Because he don't want to do it anyway, so Father, let his cup pass away from me if it may.